In his farewell address, George Washington warned us about the spirit of party and how party politics can distort and even destroy the liberties of a nation. Now, current events and even recent history show us the wisdom of his words. So we'll ponder that next on the Constitution Study.
Every day, we're everyday Americans. Hold our own and call it home. Put it all on a little piece of land. Pay the bills, stay out of jail. Love the neighbors and have a few good friends. Every day, we're everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution and teach the rising generation to be free. I'm glad you could join me today. As always, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. That's where you'll find everything Constitution Study, everything I'm working on, all the articles, all the videos. You can purchase some of my books. You can donate to the cause. You can invite me to come speak at one of your events. You could come to one of the events I'm speaking at. All that's available at the website, so I'm going to encourage you always to head over there. I also want to thank everybody that shares these messages, that takes them and spreads them around with friends and family and gets us to start looking and thinking about the Constitution and comparing how it's designed to work versus what's actually going on in our nation today. Now today, rather than study the Constitution, I actually want to talk about something said by George Washington. Yes, he's called the father of our country. He led the military during the Revolutionary War. He was the president of the Continental Congress that gave us our Constitution. He was our very first president. He set a lot of the traditions for the office of president. But as he was leaving office, in his farewell address, he gave us several warnings, one of which is quite prescient to what's going on today. You see, today I was asked once again if I was following or what I thought about the impeachment process. And the only thing I could think of was these words from President Washington. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetuated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual. And sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purposes of his own elevation on the ruins of public liberty. You see, Washington was saying what really describes the state of politics today. See, today we have two dominant parties in the federal government, the Republicans and the Democrats. And it seems they spend most of their time bickering among themselves. And if there's one thing that I think has brought this clearly into focus, it's the current state of the impeachment debate. Now, don't get me wrong. Impeachment is an important function of Congress. And if there is evidence that Donald J. Trump has done something wrong, if he's committed treason, bribery, a high crime or misdemeanor, then he should be impeached and he should be tried and if found guilty, removed from office. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The purpose of impeachment is to remove a truly bad actor. But that's not what we see. Now, since some in Congress have been calling for the president's impeachment pretty much before he did anything, I have to wonder if they're more upset that he did something wrong or just that he won the election. So this reminds me very much of the boy who cried wolf. In fact, I think it's the party who cried wolf. See, at this point, the bickering between the parties has gotten so rancorous that even if they were to find evidence that President Trump did something wrong, something worthy of impeachment, I doubt half the country would believe them anymore. See, that's what happens when we focus on party and we see that party taking over the national debate. As Washington said, the disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in a single person. And that's really what we're seeing. We see the president no longer as the executive of a country, we see him as the leader of the free world. We see the position no longer as the person who signs the bills passed by Congress, but the person who establishes a legislative agenda. We have elevated the position of president, and now we have parties fighting over that position. I can think of no better way to describe it than this spirit of revenge, which is apparently, as Washington said, natural to party dissension. It has led to great pains, and it leads to despotism. See, I see what George Washington was talking about being played out in history and news today. But it's that way because we've invested ourselves in teams, in parties. People ask me, do I like President Trump? Do I dislike President Trump? Listen, my political opinions are mine and not for the point here. My point is what the man doing constitutional or not? In fact, is any politician, what are they doing? Is it constitutional or not? If it's constitutional, then I have to ask, is it a good thing or a bad thing? But that's not how things are working today, is it? See, right now, I talk to people and everything President Trump does is evil. Even if exactly what he is doing is exactly what President Obama did when he was in office. And the same thing is true. Things that people derided about President Obama, they laud when President Trump does it. We are living in the division that is natural to party dissension, in the spirit of revenge, and it is tearing what is left of our government apart. So what should we do about it? Well, you've watched this for a while, then you know my answer is going to be we need to pick better people to represent us. You see, the point I make when I'm talking to people about the impeachment is we have to remember those people running the impeachment inquiry were hired to represent the people of their district. And if they were rehired, then that's what the people of their district want. See, I don't see this as simply a problem in Washington, D.C. This is a problem in the nation. I was talking to someone earlier today who mentioned he has a relative who is politically opposite of him, to the point that they cannot have a conversation about politics. You're talking about family members that cannot sit down and have a calm, rational discussion about some of the most important aspects of politics today or policy today because they're from different parties. How are we supposed to be a nation of freedom if we can't talk to each other if you have the wrong letter after your name, if you registered for the wrong party? I think about party, and all I can think about is the Soviet Union and Communist China, where you had to be a member of the party to get anything done. We're falling into that. We are falling into that despotism. We are falling into the absolute power of an individual or small group, to the point now where what happens and what policies are being set are not based on the Constitution or what is best for the nation, but on what is best for that person's political party. And I don't know about you, but it bothers me. In fact, it disgusts me. In many ways, I might say it terrifies me. Because once again, I see our nation, this experiment in self-government, being trampled on, being thrown out the window, because we're more worried about the party that wins, the party that leads. It's very interesting. I had a discussion. I did a video on democracy versus being a republic, and I had a lot of discussions about that. People forget, again, most parliamentary governments are parliamentary democracies. We are becoming the democracy our founding fathers feared. While we're not a pure democracy, what we're basically doing is saying we're going to be in a party, and we're going to elect a party and let that party rule. What happened to liberty? What happens to rights when all that matters is the party? 200 plus years ago, our founding president warned us what happens when we become more interested in party than the Constitution. The corruption, the despotism that comes from this. And we're more than able to see it in the other side, but we rarely get to see it in ourselves. I'm not picking on Democrats. They're just the ones being the loudest about it today. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, a pox on all your houses, because as soon as I put the position of party above the Constitution, we have lost the foundation of our liberty. So do me a favor, if you would. Do your nation a favor. Do your country a favor. Stop worrying about the party politics and start looking at what's being done in your name. Ask yourself, if you were in your representative's position, is that what you would do? If not, why are you voting for him? Now, maybe you didn't vote for your representative. Maybe you voted for the other person and they lost and this person won. What are you doing to hold them accountable? They still represent you even if you didn't vote for them. What are you doing? Now, I know what I'm doing, and I'm probably not doing enough, but I'm doing a lot more than most people I know. And that is holding them accountable, letting them know that their vote is 100% dependent on their oath, on them supporting their oath of office. And if they don't fulfill their oath of office, they're not qualified. Once that's done, we can have a great discussion about what's the best policy as long as it's constitutional. But as soon as someone comes to me and say they have to win because the other party would make things worse, they're off my list. They're driven by party. They're driven by the spirit of political party. They are factions and they are contributing to the mess that has become the cesspool of Washington, D.C. and of many of our state houses. So the next time people talk to you about political parties, the next time a policy is referenced because it's good or bad because of party, the next time a judge or a justice is referenced based on the party or the person that put them in place, remind yourself it is that spirit of party that is destroying, in large part, the land of the free and the home of the brave. So I hope you think about that. I hope I gave you something to think about. I hope you'll consider maybe being a party man or a party woman is not the wisest thing to do. I think it's a terrible thing to do. Maybe if we spent less time worrying about which party won, we could spend more time actually getting done what needs to get done, restoring the rights and the liberties of the American people. Head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Comment, let me know. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think parties are saving this nation or destroying this nation? Do you think that what we see with the impeachment, both of the attempt to impeach Donald Trump or go back to the impeachment of Bill Clinton, do you think those were party driven? Did they lead to dissension or did they lead to unification? Ask yourself if the spirit of party is making us a better, stronger nation, or as George Washington said, is tearing us apart, is leading to a spirit of revenge, and is leading us closer and closer towards despotism. Once you've chewed on that for a little while, I hope you'll come back so I can see you next time on the Constitution Study.
One thing you have to know wherever you make your stand came from a